After a short 2 days in Logroño, it was time to board another bus, this time for Belorado. Belorado is a town of just 2,100 people, a couple stages down from Logroño on the Camino. Unfortunately, when I got there, my GoPro audio stopped working, so all the thoughts and initial impressions I had, I didn't get. I was fortunate enough to get a private room for not a whole lot of money, just about 22.5 euros. While I'm not big on private rooms, especially on the road, I needed to do some work on my computer and some recording for videos. So after a walk to the supermarket in a quiet town during the siesta, I settled in, made my sandwiches, drank my orange juice, and got ready for the night of work ahead. I'm not a professional media guy, so my setup's pretty simple. Just a portable microphone and my phone. When you live out of a 35-liter compartmented backpack, you gotta save all the space you can.
My name's Jack Rogers. In June of 2023, I decided I'd had it with normal life and set out to travel the world. 2 years later, I'm still going. I've seen some cool things in my time. I've swam the Nile, followed a matador around Spain, dived the world's oceans, and even returned to Iraq after 5 years away. Now I'm off on my next expedition, an 18-month trek through some of the world's most fascinating pilgrimages. My journey will take me to 12 countries as I walk in the shoes of religious pilgrims, ancient traders, and soldiers who blazed these trails centuries ago. This isn't just another trip. Unlike my first journey, I won't be walking the earth aimlessly. This is a chance to walk with purpose, to trace the footsteps of those who move for faith and survival. These routes carry stories, and I intend to find mine among them. I've never attempted anything like this before, but after 2 years of discovering what this world has to offer, I'm ready to take the plunge into some of life's deeper meaning. I'll be tested, physically and mentally, but I know in the end, it will all be worth it as I become a wayfarer.
For such a small town, I was shocked how much culture, identity, and history Belorado had. For example, these murals were painted everywhere, on the sides of apartment buildings and businesses. They depicted everything from pilgrims on the Camino, scenes from the Bible, patron saints, even life in the campo. After my morning coffee and breakfast, it was time to head to the monastery of Santa Clara. This monastery is the last stop on the Camino as you walk out of town to the west. It's a bit of a detour, so a lot of pilgrims skip it. Since I wasn't walking, I had no reason not to go. The first monastery on this site was built in 1358. Just 100 years later, it would be destroyed in war. Undeterred by the ruin, just 2 years later, in 1460, the monastery was rebuilt. I found it funny as an American that the new monastery was built in 1460, more than 40 years before Columbus sailed the ocean blue for the New World. Unfortunately, the monastery would be no stranger to war in the future. During the Spanish Civil War, the sisters had to abandon it as the French troops moved in and took over. As of the last count, there were 14 sisters remaining in the monastery. On the opposite side of town is the Hermitage de Nuestra Señora de Belén, Our Lady of Bethlehem in English. I say on the opposite side of town, it was only about an 8.5-minute walk. Hermitages like this one are common on the Camino de Santiago. They were once isolated refuges for pilgrims and homes to the devout. This one wasn't open during my visit, and all indications said it hadn't been open in some time. Despite being a small town, there was a ton of traffic along this road. I guess it was just one of those towns that everything passed through but nobody stopped at. Honestly, kinda reminded me a bit of home. This plaza once housed a church dedicated to San Nicholas de Bari, the same Saint Nick from Christmas. He's considered a protector saint, so it isn't hard to find iglesias and retablos in his name. This church was located directly behind my hostel, and it was the first thing I saw every morning when I left for breakfast. It's the Iglesia de Santa Maria de Bellarado, Saint Mary of Bellarado. It was undergoing some serious renovations during my visit, so I didn't get to see it in all of its normal glory. While that was a little disappointing, it was also kind of nice to know that the people that take care of the church actually take care of the church, just like any other normal building. Even so, they haven't forgotten the pilgrims, and they leave the stamp out so you can stamp your passport on your way through. I ran into a guy named Christian while I was at lunch. I'd had dinner with him a couple of days before I hurt my knee. He's a former military officer doing the first half of the Camino on his own before his wife joins him for the back half. Have to admit, it was nice to see a friendly face. The town's main cathedral, located on the Plaza Mayor, is the Iglesia de San Pedro, dedicated to St. Peter. The image of Nuestra Señora de Bellarado was on the main altarpiece, which made me wonder if they had a fair or a fiesta coming up. In reality, they just moved her to a place of honor while her church was being renovated. Like so many other towns in the Campo, Bellarado was once an outpost. High up on the hill overlooking town there was once a medieval castle. Back in medieval times, the castle provided the authority over the town, and the town provided the necessary trade and services to support the castle and its garrison.
Well, it's not much now. That used to be the Castillo of Bellarado. And it's not hard to see why you would put a castle up on this hill when you take around and see the view. One of my favorite parts about being on the road through Spain, I'm not a fan of the bus rides, especially like through the Basque Country, and sometimes the trains can take a while, but something I love is just the variety of views you get, from the plains to the rolling hills, towns like this one, the mountains. I mean, there's just so much landscape diversity here that is easy to see. I mean, we have it in the United States too, but you don't have to drive 16 hours to El Paso, to see it like you do where I'm from. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Alone at the castle ruins overlooking town, I had a lot of time to reflect. My travels, my knee, the point of this expedition. While I'd always been a solo traveler at heart, I found myself wishing I could share this with somebody. I was sure a new travel companion wouldn't want to see the churches and the hermitages and the monasteries like I did, but sharing these views and these moments just seemed right. Guess I would just have to wait and see what was on the horizon. As had become the routine right now, I woke up the next morning, had my breakfast, packed my bags, and headed out to the bus stop. I got there early because I know how the buses in Spain work. Sometimes they just pass by a stop if there's no one on it, meaning that if you're not out there 15, 20, even 30 minutes early, they're not going to wait. Go figure that for once, the bus was on time.
I am now in Burgos, Spain. It is one of the provincial capitals, and I got here yesterday, didn't do much. Yesterday just went, sat at a coffee shop, had to clean my cache on computer and stuff, so it's a really boring day of that. And so now I'm going to go out and explore several of the religious sites that they have here in the city.
Burgos is an important city along the Camino de Santiago. Not only is it the provincial capital of the province of Burgos, St. James himself allegedly preached here. The first church I visited was the Iglesia de Lesmes Abad, patron saint of the city. Saint Lesmes was born in France in the 1000s, but eventually made his way over to Spain. He finally settled in Burgos, where he became active in the community. He didn't only help pilgrims and the poor, he was also knowledgeable in engineering and city planning, and he was known to be an advisor to the city council on how to develop the city. He died in 1097, and he was buried in this church. He's still there to this day. So this building behind me used to be the monastery of San Bernardino, but it now holds the municipal music school. And just behind the camera, in the shot you saw a second ago of the facade, that used to be another monastery, and it now holds the municipal museum of the city of Burgos. It's currently under renovation, so I can't go in, but on the one hand, I do like that they are repurposing these old buildings to some level of history so they can use them and continue their purpose in the city. But on the other, I wish they would just kind of preserve them to be, you know, what they were meant to be, especially as someone on the Camino of Santiago studying, or at least trying to learn about Spain's Catholic history.
Like every other major city, Burgos wasn't unmarred by the politics of the day. These beautiful murals had Free Palestine spray painted over them, and graffiti declaring from the river to the sea was everywhere. I wondered if they even knew which river and which sea they were talking about, or that painting over beautiful murals like these only turned people like me off. This long walkway is called the Paseo de Espolón. It's a wide open green space for people to relax and enjoy their day. It also contains statues of the King of Spain, Castile and Leon, and other empires that have passed through these lands. At the opposite end of the Paseo is the Marian Gate, one of the former main entrances to the walled city. In modern times, it's just a tourist attraction of people trying to take pictures, but I enjoy thinking back to a time when the walls surrounded the city and what it must have been like to walk through this gate.
That is just magnificent.
The city's main attraction and church is the Iglesia de Santa María de Burgos. That's just its shorthand name. Its full name is the Santa Iglesia Catedral Basílica Metropolitana de Santa María de Burgos. Personally, I'll just call it the Burgos Cathedral. The church started construction in the year 1221 and was consecrated in 1260. Despite being consecrated in 1260 though, a number of hiatuses and issues caused construction to be delayed for over 200 years. Like the Almudena Cathedral in Madrid, a long period of time and multiple architects resulted in multiple different styles being represented in the architecture. It has elements of Gothic, Renaissance, even Baroque. This wasn't the first church on this site, however. Burgos was designated as a bishopric in 1075 by the King of Castille and Leon, one of the predecessors to the Kingdom of Spain. Not even 20 years later, the church was too small to serve the community's needs. As the capital of Castile and Leon, Burgos needed to have a strong bishopric and impressive cathedral. Unfortunately, it was common practice at the time to destroy the old church and just build right on top of it. I spent quite a bit of time in the cathedral because it cost 10 euros to enter. It's well worth the visit, but it was a little hard on the budget. After all, 10 euros out of a total of 52 doesn't leave a whole lot of room for food.
Now, I'm not opposed to paying to visit a church, especially because it helps with the upkeep. It's a donation to the church, the parish, archdiocese to help keep it going because it is funded, mostly via donations and support from the Vatican. But this church cost 10 euros to go and comes with an audio guide, totally worth it. But several other churches also have their own entrance ticket. So if you're just trying to visit cathedrals as a pilgrim or someone just trying to learn and experience the Christian and Catholic faith, it actually builds up and it kind of becomes a bit of a turnoff. And I know, like, when Joe and I were visiting Spain the very first time before we came back to Paulo Porto Jimenez around in 2023, one of the things that she didn't like was paying for churches now. 1, 2, 3 euros, okay, but like 10. It's like Sagrada Familia was more than that. And they are great experiences. I just can't justify, not just with the budget, but just continuing to increase the cost of coming to these holy places, not just for tourists, but for locals and people who actually are coming here for spiritual need or reasons.
On the opposite side of the town of the Burgos Cathedral was the Iglesia de San Gil Abad, dedicated to St. Giles. To get there though, I had to wander through the city streets. I could have taken the main tourist thoroughfare,
but I found this pedestrian walkway behind some apartments, and it gave me what felt to be a behind-the-scenes look at the city. Like churches in many cities of the period, it was built in the actual wall of the city. This setup served several different purposes. One of the most important was to help pilgrims on the road without giving them access to town. After all, even though the city may not want people there, the church is for everyone. There are markers all along the Camino de Santiago, and each city has its own different design. Here in Burgos, it was a shell on top of arrows pointing the way. My final stop was the Convento de Santa Clara, not too far from my hostel. Its modern surroundings might be a bit deceptive, as the convent itself was built in 1234. I wanted to go inside and see its sanctuary, but it was closed and off limits. That's because the nuns are cloistered and have no interaction with the outside world or people like me. Still, they had a tienda to sell the shortbread cookies. I've had plenty of those while in Spain, so I decided not to get any. With that last convent behind me, it was time to eat my lunch and get on my next bus. Next stop, Castro.
So that's it for part 2 of my second week along the Camino de Santiago. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss a single thing coming to you from the adventure across the world. Also, go check out my Instagram, Threads, and Snapchat. It's at JRT Voyage, as well as my Facebook page, Jack Rogers Author, for more insights from the trip, articles, blog posts, and call to join me on my treks and adventures. And after that, we'll see you guys on the road.